we're all in the middle of a interesting situation, something that's pretty much unprecedented. And so I've been talking to lenders, I've been talking to brokers across the country, business people in various businesses, speaking with um, experts from all kinds of different industries, watching podcasts, reading articles. So all my material is kind of compiled from that. And so hopefully it's beneficial to you all. And like at the end, I'll tell you, you can always shoot me an email with any questions or give me a call. So I'm going to try to get this thing rolling. All right. How should you respond to the fallout of the pandemic? Stay calm. It's going to be okay. Address your options as an employer. One of the things that I've kind of recognized here is, and I'm going to address it throughout the entire program here, is as a business owner, you've got to make business decisions, not emotional decisions at this point. I always think of the airplane. I use the airplane, analysis, right? Plane's going down. You put the mask on yourself first so you can save everybody else. And I know there's a lot of emotional decisions when it comes to your employees and so on and so forth. They'll be in a better position if you're making logical decisions at this point when the doors do open back up. We're going to talk about analyzing your business. We're going to talk about preparing and planning to reopen. So step one, I'm going to talk a little bit about things that have been thrown out there as far as furlough and laying off your employees. If you have already done so, we can get to that. But for now, if you haven't and you're considering what to do, waiting on the bill to be passed or something like that, here's some basics about furlough. Furlough is basically like a temporary leave. The employee can still get benefits and they can get unemployment. So it's a good thing. It keeps a little bit of good faith with your employees, but there is a downside, and I will get to that. It does expose you to the new Family Act, Family Medical Leave Act, and I'm going to get into that in the next slide. Now, laying off obviously is the other option, and going on unemployment, putting your staff on unemployment, and many of you probably more than likely have already gone that direction. So the new FMLA law, does it affect dental offices? This was a big question I had. I've asked many people in the industry. Nobody's really sure yet. The way it's written is if you have under 50 employees, you can submit for an exemption, but you must petition the Secretary of Labor, and surprisingly, details on how to do so have not been released yet. The way it works is anyone still employed on April 2nd, and that means anybody furloughed, could petition you as the employer for 12 weeks of paid leave at 75% of salary. And in the state of Virginia, we're definitely affected by this due to the governor's decision to close schools for the rest of the school year. So most of your employees are going to be facing that issue. It does cap at $5,100 per employee. So one of the things that you should consider is analyzing whether it makes sense to do that from a standpoint of tax advantage. If you do have the cash, there are advantages to doing it, but there's an analysis you should do and not just trigger fire with a decision on that. And if you have other questions about that, you can call me. It gets quite detailed and customized. The SBA forgivable loan, I've talked to a couple doctors and they've talked to me about, they've got their applications ready. I'm going to give you some details as far as I know. Now, let me let you know that things are moving really quick right now. A lot of my material is based from stopped yesterday. So anyway, you must file an application with 2 years of tax returns, and I would assume the year-to-date P&L, I would have all that prepared. If you do apply, they're going to look at your position. They're going to look at making sure that you don't have any cash, making sure you don't have any available lines of credit on the business. If you do, they're going to deny it. The government is going to determine at that point, based on your expenses, how much they want to give you. 100% of the loan must be applied towards payroll, rent, or utilities. You must then reapply at the end for forgiveness and provide proof that all your money went towards labor, rent, and utilities. And only the principal is forgiven, so the interest is not forgiven. All right. What you should be doing now, you should be analyzing your business. You should be understanding what your burn rate is. I can tell you, I know about the way I look at this, no different from the banking industry that went through a liquidity crisis in 2007. I think that all dentists need to rethink their position on their cash position at their business moving forward. There's so many dentists. I analyze dental practices all day long, and most of them are running lean and mean, and that, as you can see, is made the situation a lot harder. So just a food for thought moving forward. Definitely keep 3 to 6, I would say 3 months of understanding your burn rate and keeping that cash in the business. In case something like this ever happened again. It's not a bad position to be in. So burn rate, just to give you a quick example, it's like you got to look at your expenses, again, mainly your salaries, your rent, whatever it takes to not shut down, okay, and analyze it over 1, 2, and 3 months. And actually, weekly is the way you should be doing it right now, but in the future, you should be looking at it as in by month. Again, you got to make tough but necessary business decisions regarding your employees. You want to focus on the staff costs when analyzing your business. See, right now I'm thinking you need to look at each employee and make a decision. Again, remember, we got to take care of the business first. Okay, we're gonna take all emotional out of this. We're gonna keep it just strictly business, and we're gonna say, which one of my employees should be brought back? If all of them, great. If all of them, awesome. But I know in conversations when I analyze businesses, the heftiest part of the expenses is always staff salary. And when I have those conversations, typically it's like, well, so-and-so's been with me 30 years. I'm like, yeah, but man, your salary's killing your overhead, and on top of that, your value. And that's fine. You can be emotional about it, but if there's a silver lining in some of this, maybe it's time to kind of rethink some of that strategy with your employees, and really analyze each employee, what they bring, if when they come back they're going to be gung-ho and ready to go, and things like that. And I can get into that on a one-on-one level with anybody who wants to talk more about it. So when you do get back, I feel like you're going to have to really look at your benchmarks of production scheduled. And me personally, let's just assume that we get the call that April 24th is the day that doors are going to go back open, and we get that call a week before. The first thing you do is you bring back one person to make the phone calls, right? Start calling the schedule, start filling that schedule. So then you start, seeing how the schedule is being filled, and then you add your employees as needed. And that's, I'm going to get into a little bit more of that. I kind of got ahead of myself. You want to treat your business like a startup when the doors come back open. What I mean is, if you think about a startup, which startups should do, if they're doing it right, is they should be lean and mean, right? You buy 2 chairs, you get the front desk receptionist, and you get your assistant, and you do your own cleanings, right? That's how you start. That's how you build the clientele. Now, again, if your schedule dictates you need more staff there, excellent. But you also just gotta be prepared for that. You can't expect to just walk in the day one and expect that your patients are all going to be waiting at your front door. So hygiene is interesting. The ADA and BDA apparently, and the rest of the world think that hygiene is not important. But I think you're going to see a buildup of mouth issues from a month or two of no dentistry, and we'll talk about that later. But regardless, um, remember when you started out, you didn't have a hygienist more than likely. If you're older than 50, uh, and you get to build a relationship with the patient that way. It's not a bad thing. And I have no knock on hygienists. I love them. But again, when I look at expense sheets and I look at, getting $90 for cleaning and you're paying a hygienist 40, 45, it might be time to renegotiate that kind of stuff. It's perfectly legal to rehire somebody and renegotiate a contract. Remember, it's kind of like you got to fill out all the new paperwork. You got to go through all the W-2 stuff, and that's what you're going to be faced with. But on a personal level, okay, and I've been focused really on the business side, still communicate with your staff. They're going through equally, if not harder, hard times, right? If you do respect them and want and plan to bring them back, I would regularly be calling them and just checking in. In these times, I can tell you, a phone call, hey, how's it going? You doing okay? Just listen to them a little bit. Hey, this is bad. And yeah, I hear you. I can't wait to get back. That's great. And maybe start to give them some ideas on some of the things that are going to be implemented when they get back on a positive level. And I'll get into some of that. Okay, the new norm. So, when you think about it, I think after this is done, you're going to see a lot of employees. They should be absolutely overjoyed to have a job, right? They've tasted what it's like to not have a job. And that's something as the business owners, and I've done consulting recently. I've been doing some multi-practice advisory, and when I go in, I was just shocked at how much, for lack of a better term, entitlement that the employees had about their roles and responsibilities and all that stuff. And I can tell you right now, if I'm running a business and I'm bringing people back off the unemployment lines, not only am I expecting them to run through a wall for me, I'm going to lay out their roles and procedures, and they're going to have extra responsibilities. Part of that is going to be the fact that you're probably, if you have the energy, you should be opening up with expanded hours. I'm talking about no more 4-day weeks for the beginning, right? You want to go 5 to 6 days if you can. You want to rebuild up that tank. You want to pay off your debts, right? And the employees got to understand that. And quite frankly, I'd be shocked if they don't. So again, silver lining, take advantage of the opportunity that you're going to have a lack of entitlement from your employees moving forward. And I'm not saying take advantage of it, but I bet every owner here could tell you, for what they pay their employees and what they do for them, they definitely should get more out of them. And so have that mindset as well. Another thing, that kind of you guys got to have an expectation for. And I'm going to use an example. I took my kids to Jimmy John's about a week ago, and it was an interesting experience. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not buying, the fear. It's just not. It's not within me. Having said that, we're adhering to, seclusion as much as we can, but we do get out occasionally. And this was about a week ago, and I took them to Jimmy John's, and as I walked in and we got some subs, there was one dedicated person with a spray bottle and a wipe. I just kind of glanced at the corner of my eye, and I paid, and he kind of ran over and scrubbed the machine and stuff. And I said, huh. I said, you know what? Even though I'm not terrified, that 2% of fear, that made me feel pretty good. And then I went to Kroger that afternoon, and they're wiping off the handles on the carts. And I said, that makes me feel better about grabbing that handle right now, right? And I think all of your patients and your staff have that same fear, whether it's a 1% or a 90%. And we have to prepare for that. I think you talk about expanded roles and duties. Every employee in that place should be, after every patient is not there, you have a certain protocol and they understand it, or when they're in and out of the chair and so on and so forth. but you should review the ADA and VDA current procedure policies and expect to maintain that. Because what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to rebuild confidence in the public, in you as a provider. Um, not that they're scared of you, but if you're not wiping down stuff on a regular basis in front of them, they may think twice about coming to you. And that's just the psyche that we're going to be dealing with for a period of time. So again, silver lining, it's not the end of the world. Your employees should be just absolutely tickled pink to have a job based on what they're going through right now. And it should just become your norm for quite some time. And it's okay, and little things like, I personally would, if you've got chairs in your waiting room that like are jammed right next to each other, space them apart a little more, right? Think about the patient. Think about their fears. There are all kinds of ideas you can come up with. Honestly, get rid of the magazines, things that people are always grabbing, the toys for the kids. For now, get rid of that stuff, make it clean, very sterile, and promote that. So and really promote. Just understand where most people are coming from. A lot of people in their mind, and I think you'll be fine. I don't know why this slide doesn't come up. Anyway. So this is what we're expecting at this point. We had the outbreak. We're down in the middle of the closing. When the quarantine ends, we're expecting to see it, like I said, a 4 to 6 week uptick. And it really comes down to consumer confidence. Like I just was talking about for some time, you really have to be diligent with that. But on a positive side, here's a couple things to understand. There is going to be a massive pent-up demand. Hold on. Oops. There's going to be a massive pent-up demand. We're going to see. Doctors are going to close. Some doctors are, just say, hey, you know what? I don't have the energy. I don't have the patience to deal with this new norm. Just a quick example. My neighbor over here who owns a brick and mortar antique rug store. I just had a conversation with him yesterday, and he's like, his head's down and he's slumped over. I said, hey, what's going on? He's like, I'm gonna have to close down. I'm like, why? He's like, well, I can't open my doors, and I've got all this inventory. And I said, well, what about e-commerce? And he said, well, I'm too old for that. I'm 65. I guess I'll just force myself into retirement. And it really is sad. Now, on the flip side of that, understand that I am in the business of transitions, and every practice still has value. Every practice still has value. So do not, and I'll get into that in a little bit towards the end. Unless you have no energy to get back into it, I would stick with it. And you are going to see a massive pent-up demand. And a couple of things that come to me, like I said before, you've got people without getting any hygiene appointments for a month or 4 to 6 weeks or whatever, however long it takes. No regular dentistry being done, nothing. And as you don't take care of things, they get into worse things, right? So that's one. We talked about there are people that will close, and there's going to be a shortage of dentists. Another thing that I'm seeing in the marketplace of potential dental sales is also associates not being able to find jobs right away and maybe turning into buyers. It's some of the conversations I've had and phone calls I've been getting. And again, this is not just kind of pulled out of thin air. It's like, I got 6 calls this week about, hey, when, I'm probably not going to get a job. If you get a listing here, can you call me? Sure. So there's going to be a good demand on a lot of levels. Now, in the big picture, I want everybody to understand that this is a healthcare crisis. It is not a banking crisis. Like I said, I spent so many hours on the phone with all kinds of different lenders from across the country. Most of them are still lending, quite frankly. If for instance, I have 1 or 2 transitions in queue. Banks like, yeah, we're ready to go as soon as the doors open back up. And even some of them are offering up to 6 months of deferred payments for buyers to close now. So, if there's something for everybody to understand, this is not like 2007. This is not a financial crisis, although it could start to get harder. And like I said, the longer it drags out and the more people that apply for deferment on loans, is going to shrink some of the liquidation in the banks. But what I'm hearing is it's probably right at about 4% now, where it was at 3% before in the sub threes. And it might at worst go up to 5, but the banks are going to be they're going to be driven to make loans because that's how they make money. And the Fed's going to do everything they can to keep the prime down. So I predict it's not going to get any higher than 5, which again is good for market stability, good for valuations, and so on and so forth. Now, when it does come to valuations and business value, I do also see at first a slight downtick because banks are going to be a little bit timid and make sure that when you come back, you're actually producing. Remember, it's not like you lost patience in this situation. You were forced to close. It's a whole different situation. But there are ways to get creative and so on and so forth. And that goes back to my theory and thoughts on just shutting the doors. The only time you would do that is if you really don't have the energy to get back into it. But if you do, and you can show your first month of production, your second month, you're going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. We do expect buyers to be aggressive, although cautiously aggressive. But there's a lot of people with a lot of money on the sidelines right now, and people and all businesses are throwing deals out. And so I do expect the market of mergers and acquisitions to move pretty regularly. So that's it. I tried to get to some major points. There's so many different situations, and every conversation I have with doctors and dentists about their practice, everybody's got a different scenario, right? So I tried to cover some of the basics of what I've been hearing up until yesterday. If anybody has any questions, I'm available. If somebody wants hands-on coaching throughout the process, I'm doing that for a couple other people, and I am available at this point. So feel free to hit me up. Otherwise, thanks for joining me. This is going to be recorded and sent out as well. So if there's anything on the PowerPoint or whatever that you saw that you wanted to review again, go ahead and view through it. Thanks again. I hope everybody stays positive and starts to really think about what day one looks like and not just what today looks like. Looking ahead is very important in this point, and staying positive. So thanks again, and have a great day.